All right, let's log in. All right, guys, we got this video here. It's called How Feminist Ideas Make Everyone Weak by Think Before You Sleep. I'm sure it's going to be an absolute banger, dude. I cannot wait. Let's get it going.
The number of female gamers is growing rapidly, especially in Asia.
Is.
According to games analyst Newzoo, nearly half the world's gamers are now female. But there's a problem. Whilst there are plenty of successful female gaming influencers, very few players like Betty are making it to the very top of the competitive side of gaming, esports.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. So listen, I don't know if there's a biological factor as to why women aren't as good at video games than men. I've played a lot of video games, because I'm a big stinky nerd loser, and I couldn't answer the question. Maybe there's a biological factor, but what I will say is that I know that when I was growing up and when most of you are growing up, and even like nowadays for the most part, men are more likely to gravitate towards gaming than women. They're just drastically more likely to do that. That's just a reality. And so there's a good argument to be made that the environmental factor of it is the reason why. If you grow up doing anything, you're going to be better at that thing than anybody else. If you grow up like working out and lifting weights when you start young, your body's going to kind of condition itself to do that thing better. Same thing with video games. You're going to your body will adapt and you'll start to learn to get better reaction time, et cetera, et cetera. Very normal stuff. There's a lot of girls that don't do that. And so they get into it when they're older, but they're not necessarily as good at it. And that's okay. And that's it. That's just it. And so as we move forward, you just let more women play video games, and maybe the gap will shorten. And that's it. There's really not like a whole lot to super duper heavily reflect upon. You know what I mean? It's not really that big of a deal. But okay.
God, this again? How many times are you guys going to make the exact same boring argument? There's not enough women in whatever male-dominated field we decided to pick. This crap is like how Hollywood keeps making the same exact movies but with different actors. It's so predictable. What's next, the wage gap?
Research from esportsearnings.com shared exclusive.
Well, there is a wage gap argument. So I know people think the wage gap has disappeared. It hasn't. It's just not nearly as big as people say. So people be like, oh my God, women only make 80 cents on the dollar to a man. It's not really true. When you factor in a ton of factors like hours worked and whatnot, hours worked, jobs performed, et cetera, it's actually like 98%. Women will still make a little bit less, but it's mostly in those like upper fields. And part of it might be sexisms. Part of it might be women don't advocate for themselves as well as men. And part of that might be just the way that we teach women in general. We may not teach them to advocate for themselves as well as they should. And there's a whole lot of stuff there. But at the end of the day, things are changing in a positive direction. So I don't think that we have to like super shit and come and like go have a meltdown about all the specifics. You know what I mean?
Exclusively with the BBC, found that there are no female players in the top 100 all-time earners, or the top 200. You have to go all the way down to 338th to trans player Scarlet to find a female player.
Did you say a trans player?
You have to go all the way down to 338th to trans player Scarlet to
trans player Scarlet. Is that a trans person?
Find a female.
Is she trans? I mean, I'm not trying to be rude. This would be listen, I'm not trying to be mean. Like from that, remember I was talking about the environmental factor of like, growing up playing games. So like this person probably played a lot more games because they may have been raised as a guy if they are trans, and it might have made them gravitate more towards, that stuff. And that's just a whole conversation about like the little bit of like the differences and potential differences in the way that people are raised, if they're, raised as a boy versus a girl. And then that gets into a whole trans issue of, kind of struggling to fit in and a whole thing. But okay.
Female player. The next female top earner isn't until 680th.
I guess it's just like real sports. But seriously, do you want to know how I know this is just a grift and these media companies don't actually care about the fairness they're claiming to care about? Think back to all...
Well, I mean, so far I haven't seen this video make this prescription that like there's sexism. They're just so far acknowledging the disparity. That doesn't necessarily mean that's bad, but...
At times you've heard the term male-dominated field, and ask yourself, have they ever once said, oh my God, this female-dominated field has no men in it. We need to change that in the name of equality. I haven't, and I watch this stuff for a living. There's a gender disparity in nursing, school teachers, and wedding planners, but I have never heard them call for more men in those fields.
So the reason that this generally happens and the reason why nobody like calls it out is usually because there isn't a culture. There's not really like an exclusion of men in those fields. They just don't gravitate towards those fields. Where historically men or women will get pushed away from particular fields like math and science and whatnot. Again, it's changing. But even with video games, like think about it. Even in video games, we would push women away from video games, right? Like just in online spaces alone. I think this is common knowledge at this point. If you're a guy and you go play a game and you say, "Hey guys," on the mic, nobody's gonna make fun of you for that. They might make fun of you for sucking at the game. But if you're a woman, the second that you say hello, they're gonna get told to go to the kitchen and all that crap. That's like societal conditioning. We don't really see that issue with men where they're like, "You can't do this." You're not. In fact, look at the makeup industry, which is women are the majority consumers of makeup. Who are the most successful people in the makeup industry? Gay men. You know what I mean? So like,
Dota 2 has the most lucrative esports scene going. Champions become millionaires. But no female professional players have ever won a world championship, and very few have even made a living. And it's not just Dota 2. No women have ever lifted the biggest trophies or won the biggest prize purses in any esport.
Maybe it's because they're too weak.
And it looks like 2021 will be the same.
That just sounds awful. Things are so unfair. But did it ever occur to you that there's never been a female team at the top because statistically it doesn't make sense? How could that be?
Why
The
doesn't it make
BBC said
sense?
earlier that 50% of gamers are women.
According to games analyst Newzoo, nearly half the world's gamers are now
What was your argument there? I'm so how does it not statistically make sense? I'm just confused.
female.
This must mean that 50% of high-ranking players should be women. Except wait,
guess.
it turns out that when you specify what kind of games people play, women don't like to play the same types of games.
Oh, sure.
So when you say 50%
Yeah, women probably don't play competitive games. Now I understand what he's meant. Yeah, for sure.
of gamers are female, you're talking about things like Candy Crush and Farmville, not games like Call of Duty and Apex Legends. Traditionally,
Probably.
women like puzzle games, RPGs, and sim games like Animal Crossing. This has been known for decades. Back in the 1990s, one of the reasons that Nintendo sold the original Game Boy with Tetris is because moms loved that game. Women make most of the household purchases, and Tetris convinced them to buy a Game Boy. So let's look at some numbers on the stuff that BBC is talking about. Earlier, they said
So like, yeah, he's absolutely right. I think I skipped it.
there are way more male players than he said. 20%. Earlier, they said Dota.
Okay. So like, yeah, no, he's making a good point. I guess the next question is like, okay, so it doesn't matter because I already explained why there probably isn't going to be as many women. But realistically, I doubt that the proportionality of women who play Dota matches the number of like representation in the competitive scene. But again, we already know why, because a lot of people are getting into it later and whatnot.
So let's look at some numbers on the stuff that BBC is talking about. Earlier, they said Dota 2, right?
Sure.
What percentage of women play that game?
I don't know.
20%. What about another popular competitive game?
Right. And so, like, are we seeing 20% representation? No. So, like, you didn't exactly debunk their argument there with the argument of, like, oh, women, will play other games disproportionately. It's true, but you didn't really debunk their argument because despite the fact that, yeah, you're right about that, we still don't see 20% representation. But we wouldn't expect to see it, right? For maybe a multitude of reasons. Okay.
Game like Fortnite, 27%. Higher than Dota, but you can still see that there are way more male players
That's
than
severe.
females, so it statistically makes sense for almost all the top players to be male, especially when you're in an environment where it's winner take all. Have you ever played a competitive sport before? Typically the same people win everything, so it's not just
Why is
all the
someone
male
hating?
teams share the top spots equally. It's more like one male team wins almost all the time.
Okay.
When you have way more male players, it's way more likely that the same male player or the same male team will win everything. This reporting is so bad that even
I don't understand the argument he's trying to make here. I don't really get what he's trying to say. Like, specifically with this argument.
all the male teams share the top spots equally, it's more like one male team wins almost all the time.
Okay.
When you have way more male players, it's
That's not
way more
necessarily
likely that the
true.
same male player or the same male team will win everything. This reporting is so bad that even the female Valor
I don't understand what argument that I don't really get what he's trying to say here. I don't understand what he's trying to get at by saying it's the same team that wins over and over again. Can somebody try to explain it to me? Because I'm truly just not understanding it at all. Okay.
team that the BBC chose for this news special said that there aren't many female competitive players.
Give me like 1 second. My audio is getting all like funky, so we're gonna.
Teams share the top
Okay.
spots equally. It's more like one male team wins almost all the time. When you have way more male players, it's way more likely that the same male player or the same male team will win everything. This reporting is so bad that even the female Valorant team that the BBC chose for this news special said that there aren't many female competitive players.
Okay. Yeah,
So
there's
you're
not.
saying that you wouldn't want there to be a division where women can't play against men?
Oh, that'd be horrible. I wouldn't play the game if that was the case, personally.
Tell me why.
Well, yeah, probably because there's not enough women to actually fill out a league like that. I also don't think that like gaming is the same. I personally don't think, and we won't really know until time goes on. I don't think gaming is the same as like a physical sport. I know that all these gamers want to think that they're actual athletes, but cope. So it's one of those things where I think it more has to do with like the encouragement of people to play those games as they're growing up. Maybe even just like how much they may gravitate towards those. Men, I think, tend to be a little more aggressive and violent, so it's probably why they're more competitive and whatnot. But I'm sure that there's competitive women.
Can you explain that?
At the current scene right now, I think all of us individually would be like, it wouldn't be fun. Like, we wouldn't have any competition, or if we just only had to play against other women's teams.
We don't want separate...
Yeah, true. I guess the only thing that would speak against that is if they did make a separate women's team, maybe there would be more of an incentive for more women to feel comfortable to come forward and play. Maybe that would be something. But...
divisions because there wouldn't be any competition. Really? That's strange. Could that be because twice as many men play Valorant? And the only reason that the female numbers are so high is because Riot Games got bullied by feminists, so they went out of their way to overpromote Valorant to women. That's why their participation...
Well, apparently it worked. Wait, what? They went out of their way to overpromote to women? Maybe they just wanted to tap into the woman market, and women might also just gravitate towards different things. Like a woman might be like, "Oh, listen, I don't really know, but maybe the women are like, oh, I like skins or something. I don't know, some cringe shit. Oh, I like the skins. I like this. It's possible as well.
Is much higher than the 7% of women that typically play shooters from the graph that I showed earlier. Honestly, though, this is terrible marketing. There are certain things that men are naturally attracted to, and there are certain things that women are naturally attracted to. Good marketers figuring out what that stuff is, and then marketing natural desires to their respective audiences is how companies make money. Mainstream...
Sure, but again, it's not all natural. There's also like societal aspects to it, like shaming women or berating them in a space just because by virtue of them being a woman happens all the time in video games. Less so now, but it is something that happens quite frequently. So
media saying that we need to force more women into competitive gaming because it's a male-dominated field is like me saying, guys, you know what? This channel is dominated by videos that are about relationships and woke people. There aren't nearly enough Minecraft videos here, and that's so unfair because so many people play Minecraft. So what
I would say the biggest issue with that is that like I don't think that you've ever been in a relationship, so it makes it a little difficult for you to speak about it. Because a lot of the times that I'll watch this guy, it seems to come from this like weird place where he doesn't seem to understand anything. It's a little bizarre. I don't know if there's a whole lot of life experience, but okay.
What to do is only make Minecraft videos until 50% of the videos on my channel are about Minecraft. Would you guys watch this channel if I did that? Do you think that it would be a good business idea to tank my channel by making videos my audience doesn't care about? How about we just let people watch what they naturally want to watch and let people work the jobs that they naturally want to work instead of propagandizing them into beliefs that go against their actual desires? This all seems like a solution.
And again, we should not make it so that people don't feel comfortable to work at certain jobs and push them away from certain jobs or certain games and whatnot, so we can get the true understanding of the way men and women engage with things without that social factor or pressure, right? Because that's still something that does go on today a little bit here and there, so.
Searching for a problem. The media is saying, we have the answer we want, now we just need to find a problem to force our solution into. Okay. And of course, simple numbers can't be the reason why there aren't many successful female competitors. It must be misogyny that's holding them back.
They think women are being put off because of a misogynistic and immature culture in grassroots gaming.
That's 100% true. Absolutely. What are you talking about? I was part of that culture. I'm not sitting here and saying, guys, like let's just be real here. I'm not sitting here acting like I wasn't the dude that would fucking dunk on every woman that would ever come into any Dota game that I ever played. I used to play Dota a lot. Okay, I used to absolutely dunk on them. When you're making fun of a guy, you suck. You stinky poo-poo head. When it came to a girl, it was bad. It was rude. Okay, this is a thing that happened, and like we used to do it all the time, and it still happens sometimes. Yeah, of course. I think it's a factor. Do I think that it would clear up every disparity? I personally don't think so, but we don't really know. But we have to at least call out the toxicity that's inherent to like specifically women that get fucking bullied just for being women sometimes. Whereas that doesn't happen. Nobody goes on a game and goes, "Oh man, fuck this guy." Nobody says that because it's all men. We love shitting on women, right? It's a kink. Or I'm German, but it's just not like. Come on, bro. Come on.
Something female gamers are increasingly highlighting online.
True.
Why are guys so unoriginal with their smack talk on Call of Duty?
Go back to the dishes. I know a bunch of boomers wrote this, so BBC might not be aware of this, but for like 15 plus years, you've been able to mute players who say things you don't like. Is there a game out there these days where you can't mute people?
So I like how the defense isn't like it's like you can mute it. You're right, you could mute it, but like here's the question: why should you have to? So now he's acknowledging the argument, but not speaking against it. He knows women get dunked on, so he knows women get dunked on and pushed out of these spaces. So now you have a space. An integral part of a game, especially a team game, somehow this guy doesn't understand this, is the ability to communicate with your teammates and other players. If you try to communicate and you're told that you're a dumb fucking woman and that you should go back into the fucking kitchen, it's going to make you not want to engage anymore in what I think is an integral part of the game, especially a team-oriented game. You're actively pushing women out of the ability to sit down and make decisions with their teammates because every time they say hi, they get identified as a woman and they get fucking absolutely decimated for it. What are you like? It's like you're intentionally missing the point just so that like you could take like this instead of being normal and making like a fucking argument, it's just like a weird like, yeah, fuck women argument. It's just bizarre.
In the words of Frosk,
if you don't like it, don't watch it. Peace.
If you don't like it, don't listen. Now, I don't think one clip of this does enough justice to how many times they made the misogyny argument for why female players don't do as well competitively, instead of talking about something more reasonable like total number of female players or time invested building the skill. Here's another one.
People are especially sexist in game towards women and make very rude comments, and I think that it's easier for us because we know we're successful and we know we have accomplishments, but like women every day just get like literally harassed in game, and it's really difficult to play in that environment.
Just on the day-to-day, like if you're a girl, you don't get the luxury of just having a bad game. It's like because you're a girl.
Yeah.
People are rude in video games. Women most affected. Allow me to poll the audience.
You're so dumb.
Raise your hand right now if you've ever played an online game where someone said something mean to you.
That's not what they're saying. You're not understand. This is what I'm talking about. This guy has no understanding of the world. They're not saying that they get bullied in video games and it sucks because everybody can. Some people can. In general, gaming environments can be very toxic. What they're saying is that if they get bullied for being a girl, what they're saying is, hey, when we lose, I don't just suck as a player to the other players. I get told that I'm a dumb fucking bitch, and that's why we get like fucking dunked on. And he's like, it's just bullying. You just don't get it, and I think that you're trying not to get it. Like it's just insane. Like, God forbid we acknowledge like, oh yeah, some gaming spaces can be regressive. Okay. But it's like you're desperate to not understand it. It's like weird. Why? It's cringe. Just be like, yeah, this happens. That's it.
Everybody raised their hand, right? This is not exclusive to women. Here's data from Pew Research.
Nobody's saying it's exclusive to women. What they're saying is that women get bullied for their identity, whereas guys don't typically. But you know what? If you're a black guy and you go, hey, I'm black, all of a sudden there's going to be a barrage of the fucking N cannon. You know what I mean? Like, it's only difference is you could generally hide that you're black on the internet in a video game, especially. Okay.
Harassment from 2014. Most of the categories are even. Look, it says here that men are 7% more likely to be harassed online than women are when you look at all types of harassment. Yeah, this stuff is...
I gotta look at this fucking research because he took out such a small thing. Pew Research, is this what he's referring to? This is a study from 2014, so I mean, I can't exactly... It's probably a little dated. Let's see. 73% of adult internet users have been have seen someone be harassed in some way online, and 40% have personally experienced it. 60% of the internet users said they had witnessed someone being called offensive names. 53 had seen efforts to purposely embarrass somebody. They responded about 6 different forms of online harassment. Those who witnessed harassment said that they had seen at least one of the following occur. 24% had to be physically threatened. 24% harassed, sustained period. Sexually harassed. 19, 18. I wonder what they mean by that. If I call someone gay, is that sexual harassment? This is already an 8-year-old study, but okay. Those who have personally experienced online harassment, they were targeted of at least one of the following. Offensive names, embarrass them, stalked. I'm trying to find the men and women. 4 in 10 internet users are victims of online harassment. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Let's see. None of these things I'm seeing are specifically for being like a woman. Young adults, young women. Let's see. Key findings. Young adults. So 18 to 29 are more likely than any other demographic group to experience online harassment. Fully 65% of young internet users have been the target of at least one of the 6 elements harassed, blah, blah, blah. Let's say young women, 18 to 24, experience certain severe types of harassment at disproportionately high levels. This is in the article he linked. Young women, those 18 to 24, experience certain severe types of harassment at disproportionately high levels. 26% of these young women have been stalked online, and 25% were the target of online sexual harassment. In addition, they do not escape the heightened rates of physical threats and sustained harassment to their male peers at young people in general. This is the article that you referenced. Okay? And look at this. What he's showing us in this. Okay, so you can't see it on my screen. Let me make this like a little bit more clear. Okay? This here is the link that he showed us all in the article that he reviewed. He looked at this. This is this. Young women experience particularly severe forms of online harassment. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. He showed us this. Men and women experience different varieties of sexual harassment. That's what he showed us. Okay? Right above it is young women experience particularly severe forms of online harassment. He literally read this article, skipped past this part that is 3 inches of an inch above it, and he rolled down to this one to show us a statistic out of fucking context instead of just showing us this. Okay? Like, young women experience particularly severe forms of online harassment. I don't know what to tell you. And some of them are more equal, like called offensive names or purposely embarrassed. But women are stalked drastically higher, right? There's 3 bars. The left one is all users. The right one is, the middle one is men. The right one is women. All right. Sexually harassed women, drastically higher. Physically threatened, there seems to be more men. Sustained harassment seems to be a little bit more women, right? So this shows there's a disparity in these 2 things, right? Now let's keep in mind that all the people that are doing all the harassing are probably men towards other men or women, and women get sexually harassed and stalked at higher rates. There's clearly a drastic disparity. It's not like there's just like a couple of points off the notch here. It's literally fucking drastic for the ones where the women are disproportionate, and then slightly off for the ones where the men are disproportionate. But he takes like this weird, even in what he showed us, women are sexually harassed at higher rates, stalked at higher rates. There's less physical threatening. That's good. Right? Okay. And now when we go into separation, like, why were they called offensive names? Was it because they sucked at the game, which we do all the time, or was it because they were a guy? Never happens. No guy ever gets criticized for being a guy on the internet or in a video game, but women get criticized for being women. It's so basic. And like, I don't understand why defend this point? Why intentionally defend this point? Like, yeah, there's toxicity towards women in online spaces, and women deserve it. No, I'm just kidding. That's just crazy. Okay.
7% more likely to be harassed online than women are when you look at all types of harassment. Yeah, this stuff is not great on both sides, but don't sit there and make shows pretending that women are the only ones who have to deal with assholes.
Nobody's saying that. They're saying that they're the only ones that deal with getting harassed for being women. Men don't get that harassment. I don't understand. It's like very simple.
This is not the only news report promoting this false narrative. Here is Vice basically saying the
It's
same
not a
thing.
false narrative. You're listening to young girls talk about how they get shit on for being women. It's a false narrative. Why is it a false narrative? I mean, all I can think is this guy's a fucking beta who's never played video games before. That's all I can say, because there's no fucking way. Like, I know we used to shit on women all the time. I'm sorry, and it's terrible. I'm part of it, but I was part of it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not proud of it, but it was funny. I'm sorry. It's shitty, but hey, like, it's the reality, bro. I'm not gonna fucking cry about it and be like, I never did that. I fucking did it too. I was an asshole. I'm sorry. That's the reality, brother. You know what I'm saying? But it existed. I'm not going to fucking pretend otherwise. I'm not some dumb goober who's like afraid to admit this fucking fact. It's crazy.
Next clip features Madison Mann, a Fortnite player.
Okay. I think I knew the harassment I would face because I've always experienced it being just a girl online. Like, I've heard everything since I was 9 years old. It's definitely gotten more personal because it's like my everyday like job, and I have to hear harassment from other pros, and it's pretty annoying. But at the same time, I'm like, someone has to take the bullet in order for things to change.
Sure, she's
you're
right.
So brave. You're the only person who's fighting for freedom. One thing they didn't highlight.
Bro, all she's doing is talking about how she gets disproportionately bullied for being a girl and how the only way that advocacy is going to happen is that if somebody goes into the space and deals with the bullshit. I respect her. Is she a fucking combat veteran? No, she's not like this fucking combat veteran that's fucking dealing with... No. But in this space, she's certainly a bit more brave than any other guy that's just existing in the space. Okay, so who fucking cares? Why is he so aggressive towards trying to dismiss these women? Just so like, okay, you can listen here, guys. You could just simply not care. You could just be like, oh, I don't care. You could just not care about women, and that's okay. I would say you should try to care about women, but if you just don't care about women, God bless you. Be my guest. But for you to sit here and take the time out of your day to like actively be like, no, these women are wrong. You're just delusional. You're just delusional.
Is how many women don't actually care about this kind of commentary. Here's a segment with Melanie Mack on the Chrissy Mayer Show.
You know, I made a tweet not long ago saying,
Okay.
hey, you know, as women, maybe we should stop being victims here and stop calling everyone a misogynist because they make a get in the kitchen joke on Xbox Live. It ain't that deep.
Listen, if that's how you want to engage, that's totally fine. But, like, that is misogyny because it's specifically about being a woman. That's it. Like, it's also just as it is be sexist if somebody's like, go die in a war, or you're a wallet as a man, right? Because you're just kind of playing on those historical tropes of being a man and a woman. Men are only good for their money. Women are only good for their fucking house tending skills. It is literally misogyny. This girl not caring, that's fine, but that doesn't mean that she's right. You can't. Not all women are a fucking monolith. But of course, you're going to choose the one that like aligns with you instead of critically engaging with both perspectives.
Deep. It's a joke. Just toss it right back at him.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's how
Tell him to go die in a fucking war. That's honestly do that. That's good advice. She's giving good advice. Toss it back at them. But that's a way to fight against it by giving them their shit back. But you want to know what? Every time I've seen somebody fight against it, all of a sudden, you know how people like I remember being on TikTok and I was part of the man versus woman war, and then all like women would shit on men for being wallets. That was a big meme at one point, and men were crying so hard, like, oh, that's sexist, that's sexist. Meanwhile, they're making kitchen jokes. It's like not to be an asshole, but from what I've seen, men are a lot more sensitive to being fucking criticized in a lot of these different ways than women. The second that you hit men with fucking some kind of sexism, they cry about it. It's not a joke anymore. But they'll talk about how women should fucking go walk around at night and get raped in the street, and that's a funny joke. But the second they get called a fucking wallet, all of a sudden it's like it's World War II, and like now they have like they just go fucking insane. I mean, it's fucking crazy, dude. Everybody's super fucking sensitive, but you want to know what? Women are dealing with more bullshit than men on fucking internet games. That's pretty much it. It's a fact. I don't know what to tell you.
Respond to this kind of behavior. By the way, something I haven't really talked about too much on this channel is welcome to male spaces. How much of this air quote harassment is just men behaving how they behave around men? Melanie seems to understand that. This is one of the fundamental...
Bro, his argument here is that like boys will be boys. Like, yeah, you know, they're just hanging out with their pals, and when a woman invades their space, that bitch needs to go. Okay, apply that to sexual like harassment at work. Like men, like why should a woman put up with it? Like I just don't understand. Why do you have such low expectations for men? Yeah, you know, men just can't help but be fucking rabid dogs when they're talking to anybody. So if a woman comes in and she's like, or a person that says I don't like this thing, they can't do anything about it because they're just dogs. Men are just fucking animal dogs that can't change themselves. I find that offensive. I find that to be fucking offensive. You know.
Mental differences between men and women that feminists don't get because they think that men's words mean the same thing that women's words do.
What?
Men and women have different experiences, so in a lot of situations, their words and expressions mean different things. In these kinds of situations,
What?
I think that women tend to be more indirect.
Give me an example of what you're talking about. Well, give me an example of what you mean by men's words are different from women. So when a man goes, go back to the kitchen, bitch. How is that different from if a woman had said that to a woman? I don't understand. Give me a specific instead of just fucking being so being so vague
And polite. So they'll say something nice, but really intend something mean.
What?
While men will say the worst possible
What?
things to each other and not mean it at all. It's a part of a game.
Women are all passive aggressive, guys. Women are all passive aggressive. That's what he's saying there. Listen to this.
Some situations, I think that women tend to be more indirect and polite. So they'll say something nice, but really intend something mean. While men will say the worst possible things to each other and not mean it at all. It's a part of a game. Women who
Okay.
don't get that will think it's serious and take the commentary.
We can't just talk about how men might have a different interpretation of something being said. We also have to take a shot at women for being passive aggressive pieces of shit. Why? What? There's like, dude, I don't understand why every part of your advocacy for men has to rely on shitting on women. Like, yeah, you know, maybe men are just kidding around, but women, they're passive aggressive and they're worse. What the fuck's happening here? How is this happening, bro? How are you this person?
personally when it's more about playful banter. Here's an example of that behavior on the stream of a professional Apex Legends player who goes by It's Timmy.
I got one. He's low. Go for me. Buds one. He's trying to thirst for armor. Nice. Get him.
He full killed you? What a bitch, bro.
See, he just laughs off the insult because it's not serious. And
was he even insulted?
Bitch, bro.
That guy wasn't even insulted. They were insulting the different person. What are you talking about?
Get him. He's low. Go for me. Buds one. He's trying to thirst for armor. Nice. Get him.
He full killed you? What a bitch, bro.
He's calling the guy that killed him a bitch. How are you even using this as a comparison? He wasn't even insulted, you fucking inept moron. Also, again, it's not about women getting criticized for sucking at video games. It's about how women get criticized for sucking at video games because they are a woman. That's what it is. It's it's a drastic difference. I mean, it's just like he's trying not to get it, I think. I think that's where it comes from. I'm so confused though. Like, how do you? I don't understand how you put these examples together and went, this is smart. This is a good example of this. Oh, I'm shitting and coming right now. Holy fuck.
See, he just laughs off the insult because it's not
serious. He wasn't insulted.
And it's fun because it gives guys a chance to say all the things that we aren't allowed to say everywhere else, which is why I don't appreciate companies like the BBC and Vice using this fake news to further censor male spaces.
Do you have any friends? Like, I'm not even trying to fuck around. Like, I don't know. Whatever.
Men aren't going around trying to change the culture of female spaces, so please stop doing it to ours. Feminists have destroyed so many male spaces that we can't even have the Boy Scouts. Yet magically...
So first of all, to your point about video games...
Feminists have destroyed so many male spaces that we can't even have the Boy Scouts.
First of all, I'm going to be real about this. First of all, video games don't have to be a woman's space. Stop crying about how video games are you're crying because you want a fucking safe space, you pussy. Okay? You're like, why women don't want to be criticized on the internet. They wouldn't want to be treated the same as men on the internet. So don't take away my safe space to be sexist. Two, I'm really tired of people who don't give a fuck about the Boy Scouts talking about the Boy Scouts. I am an Eagle Scout. I'm an Order of the Arrow Brotherhood member in the Boy Scouts, okay? Stop crying about the boy. You don't give a fuck. Boy Scouts has been dying. And you want to know what? Allowing girls into there, who cares? Who cares? Boy Scouts is good. It sets a good example for people to be strong. God forbid you teach women to be fucking strong. Who gives a fuck? Shut the fuck up with your virtue signal. Oh, what about the boys? Shut up. Shut the fuck up. You don't care about the fucking Boy Scouts, and you never have. Shut the fuck up. I'm an Eagle Scout. I don't give a fuck. I haven't talked to a single Boy Scout that gives a singular fuck about women joining the Boy Scouts because we don't care, okay? It's about the community that you build and the lessons that you learn. It's not about the fact that women don't exist in the space. Nobody gives a shit about that. Nobody's fucking shitting and coming about that. Nobody cares. Shut up. I hate when people talk about fucking Boy Scouts like you give a fuck. You don't care about the fucking Boy Scouts. The sanctity of Boy Scouts isn't getting destroyed because some women might be allowed into the fucking Boy Scouts. Nothing like that is magically happening. Men aren't becoming weaker because of any of this bullshit. Boy Scouts is really good. And you want to know what? The best part of the Boy Scouts is when you have a good Scoutmaster that actually is able to like do shit with you. There's a lot of fucking troops, a lot of shitty Scoutmasters that don't give a fuck about the kids. And mine did. And he was great. He was a Vietnam fucking veteran. He was a hard-ass motherfucker. And he taught people, a lot of the boys in the troop, what it meant to be a fucking man. That's what we learned. A lot of other troops don't do that shit. They just fucking phone it in and they try to get their merit badges and they don't fucking care. Okay? Stop pretending you give a shit about the Boy Scouts. It's annoying. It's just so annoying. It's so childish. Shut the fuck up. Shut up.
Yet magically, in the name of equality, every female space like Curves is left untouched. But establishment corporations like Vice and the BBC...
Okay. Curves is like... So what, women can go to the gym without getting harassed by men at the gym. That's really all it's about. Okay? I haven't seen a single man say I need a man's only gym. Like, that's the problem, is nobody gives a fuck. Men aren't like, oh, we need a man's only gym. Right? There isn't like this giant outcry because this isn't a problem that exists in the nearly the same way. A lot of times women will go to a gym and they'll feel intimidated at the gym because the gym is a traditionally male space, which shouldn't have to be, and it's intimidating for women. I mean, have you ever gone to a gym? I know I'm fat as fuck, but like I used to lift like a lot more seriously, but it's like I feel like you've never been I don't think you're a Boy Scout. I don't think you've been to a gym. I don't think that all you play is Minecraft. I don't think you've ever played a competitive game in your fucking life, and you're sitting here talking about these issues like you're so deeply invested. It's so bizarre. Yeah, Boy Scouts do not have any drip. That's actually very true, but it's just like, holy fuck. Like, this is what I'm talking about. That no man ever brings up the fact that there aren't like specific male protected spaces unless it's to shit on a woman. asking to be like having her own protective space. But men don't actually want that. I don't care. Like, I don't think the fucking boys' bathroom. I do. I don't want you looking at my wiggler. The boys' bathroom. That's it. So, I mean, bro, okay.
Are using women to push this narrative to censor male spaces because one, the establishment hates free speech, so they'll look for any excuse to censor people, and two, because
nobody's trying to censor. Just don't be sexist to women online. Just do it to yourselves. I talk so much shit with my friends when it's just my friends, because that's what you do. You talk shit with your friends. You don't need to fucking talk shit to every person that ever exists all the time. Like, you don't need to be doing that. Freedom of speech is not dead in online. It's just that these places are like, hey, we want to start censoring, they want to start monitoring and censoring some of the public speech when it comes to other people. We don't want people to go on the fucking internet and start calling each other the fucking N-word constantly, which is something that would always happen. And they're trying to reduce that. But he wouldn't disagree with that. He's like, yeah, that's okay. It's bannable if you say the N-word. So then why not have a conversation about the acceptability of the way we treat other people fundamentally? And if you want to talk shit to people, I don't know, then talk shit to your friends. I mean, it's not that fucking deep, bro. It's not that deep.
As I said, tons of women aren't as direct as men are, and they don't understand the game that is being played in male-dominated spaces, so they get offended, lash out, and call for censorship. The establishment needs people to call for censorship, or they can't get away with it.
The establishment.
Oh, and by the way, some of the women who Vice and the BBC said were being attacked were actually engaging in harassment.
It goes two ways. So one is, they will say, oh my god, babe, I love you, this kind of weird stuff, like they never seen a girl in their life.
Wait a minute, how is what she said not sexist? Oh my god, I bet you've never spoken to a woman before.
I mean, I guess you could say it is, but it sounds like it's reactionary to a guy harassing her. I mean, okay.
I mean, considering the comment, she's probably right, but how is that not at least as sexist as telling women to wash dishes? Why didn't the BBC point that out?
Hold on.
Oh my, how is that not
weird stuff, like they never, it goes two ways. So one is, they will say, oh my god, babe, I love you, this kind of weird stuff, like they never seen a girl in their life.
So you're really good at taking 4 seconds of a clip without any context. What it sounds like she's saying there is that there are guys who are simping for her, and it's frustrating, and it's another form of sexism when somebody like is like, oh my god, I love you, babe, like some weird fucking super aggressive shit that you've never met this woman, and then like you expect that to work and get them to be into you, and she's criticizing that. She didn't even say it was about men. She just says it was about creepy people fucking harassing her. I don't know the full context. You could take any 4 fucking second clip and you could say whatever you want about it and you could pretend to be correct. I mean, you've given us no context there, and probably intentionally. So what am I supposed to do with this clip? It doesn't really make sense to me. I don't understand. And it's drastically different from calling somebody out for being like going across a boundary and being like, oh my god, you're so beautiful, when they don't even know you, versus somebody who's like, you're a fucking dumb bitch, go back to the kitchen because you suck at a game. These are two pretty big different things here. I don't understand how we don't understand that.
Wait a minute, how is what she said not sexist? Oh my god, I bet you've never spoken to a woman before. I mean, considering the comment, she's probably right, but how is that not at least as sexist as telling women to wash dishes?
It's not.
Why didn't the BBC point that out? This is a part of the complete hypocrisy on the internet.
Because you're wrong about your assertion on almost every single topic. I don't know. I like the only times you're correct is when it's an accidental thing. I mean, like, you're very off the mark on a lot of different things that you talk about. It's fucking crazy.
Where if you say an insulting word that refers to how many sexual partners a woman has had, you are instantly banned. But go ahead and use all kinds of words against men to describe how few sexual partners they've had. Those are fine.
What? What are you talking about?
Either it's all okay or none of it's okay. Do that or stop.
It's just about setting a boundary that you don't want to be harassed. Like, and some people, men should be able to set that same boundary than women. I mean, just fundamentally speaking. But I don't be specific. What are you even referring to? Like, are you referring to virgin versus slut? Calling a girl like a fucking slut versus calling somebody a virgin? I guess. I guess. I just don't know what you're talking about. Like, I don't know the specifics of what you're referring to. You're being so vague, and I think it's intentional.
Stop saying you're for equality, because you guys clearly aren't. We are tired of the double standards, and we're tired of the games that are played not to actually help people, but to gain power. Speaking of that, example number 2 from Vice of a female gamer being abusive.
It is actually insane that every single person on this team is acting this way. No, I'm not going to, because I've put up with it for too many fucking games.
We really don't care. We really don't.
She's caught yelling here.
Okay, so this is what she gives us.
It is actually insane that every single person on this team is acting this way. No, I'm not.
So she says insane that everybody's acting this way, and then they say, what does it say? They say, shut up, bitch.
It is actually insane that every single person on this team is acting this way. No, I'm not.
So if you hear that, listen to, okay, we're doing this one more time. I just want you to listen to what's said.
It is actually insane that every single person on this team is acting this way. No, I'm not going.
That person, I don't know who put that in there, but that person says "shut up, bitch," but they don't put the bitch in the subtitles. If you notice that, so she's saying it sucks how everybody's acting this way, and then someone says "shut up, bitch," which is targeted at a woman, and you're saying she's being toxic. She's getting called a bitch by her teammate, clearly indicating that the people are harassing her for being a woman. She's calling it out, and now you're calling her toxic. You have to have a fucking potato brain, bro. You have to have mush in your fucking head to engage in this way. There's no way that you're this fucking dishonest. There's no way.
It is actually insane that every single person on this team is acting this way. No!
Shut the fuck up, bitch. Oh, and she's being... Oh, but you hear how she responds to... this woman defending herself? What a fucking bitch. Like, oh my God, bro. How are you this person? How are you this insanely dishonest? It's crazy.
I'm not going to because I've put up with it for too many fucking games.
We really don't care. We really don't.
She's caught yelling here at other players. What
Somebody
exactly
called
is the
her a
context of this
bitch.
situation?
I don't know. Why don't you show it? But if you used any intelligence on it, it's clear that they're making fun of her for being a fucking woman and that she's defending herself. I don't understand. Why are weak men afraid of strong women? I'm so fucking confused. It's weird as fuck.
Could it be that she started this fight?
No.
Certainly, even if she didn't, she's not completely innocent in this situation.
Why?
They're saying that they want to stop toxicity, and she's there yelling and throwing fuel on the fire. That's not how you deal with toxic players.
Oh my God. Dude, you're insane. That's not how you do. Right now, he's acknowledging that those other players are toxic. But as a woman, you don't deal with toxic players by responding with toxicity. So apparently in this situation, women have to be better. Women have to do better than men that are being toxic in the first place. What a weird fucking entitled world you live in. So disconnected from reality. It's insane. Should people stand above and do these things the perfect way? Sure. But why is the criticism on the person responding to being fucking harassed for being just existing, but there's no real criticism on the people that are harassing them? It's just, it's fucking baby brain. It's 14-year-old mentality. It's pseudo-intellectual fucking no life experience insane shit. Holy fuck. It's insane. It's insane, dude. Okay.
This is how you deal with them.
Alright, you two, you both need to stop. You...
What?
I never get them. You guys get the game, but I never get that. I'm never that lucky. What the fuck is that shit?
Okay. Stop.
That was It's Timmy again, a professional Apex Legends streamer and competitor. As in someone who is actually good at the game, and that's how he handles toxic players. He doesn't scream back at them and yell at them like that girl did. What happened was they were playing a ranked game, and the Bloodhound guy who was mad got killed first. The other team realized they were fighting a famous streamer and gave him 3 free kills. Timmy's teammate who died is pissed because Timmy just got a bunch of points for those kills, whereas the guy who died got nothing. Despite the guy's behavior, Timmy tried to de-escalate the situation by saying stop calmly and assertively. He didn't yell at him like the other girl did, and he even revived the disgruntled teammate as a sign of good faith after the abusive commentary.
No way, I clipped that. Oh,
incoming care package. I love loot.
On a more comedic note, that teammate...
You realize that this guy is probably doesn't going to ever like you or anything, right? Like you sucking his cock isn't going to make it magically change. No, bro, these are so different. There's a difference between getting free kills as a Valorant player or whatever. Sorry, excuse me, whatever the fucking game it is. I know what the game's called. I just forget what it's called for a second. Versus getting called a shitty fucking worthless woman. And it's funny how you have the full context here, but you don't have the full context of the other clip. It seems a little suspicious there, dude.
Proceeds to do something stupid and
Timmy told people on Twitter that he doesn't like this guy. Base, can you show that to me? Can you send that to me? That would be fucking incredible.
Right after he was brought into the game. But if you want to stop toxicity, that's how you do it. You remain assertive, but work to de-escalate the situation. And if they continue with the abusive behavior, you can just block them. However, Vice and the BBC don't...
You could, but again, why should you have to? Why should I, imagine being in a game, and again, I'll say this again, part of the game is communication in a team game, and you're trying to communicate with your teammate, but they're calling you a dumb fucking cunt, and you need to, fucking, all this other shit, go to the kitchen. How is it fair that you can't play the game the way that it's meant to be played by having communication with your teammates? How is that fair? Why? People should be able to. In general, and it goes with general toxicity. I think that we should try to reduce toxicity in games in general. I've been trying to be better. I would be very toxic back in the day. So what I do is when I play like a team game, I'll pretty much just mute the entire team. I just don't even bother because I know that sometimes I get really angry. So I'm trying to do my part by just chilling the fuck out. When it comes to my friends, we'll talk our shit back and forth because that's an environment where the both of us are like consenting to be fucking toxic little assholes, and it's fun. You know, that's why you need to have friends. If you want to be toxic, make friends. Okay.
Actually want to stop toxic players. They are clearly using this to divide and conquer the sexes in the gaming industry as some sort of power play, while trying to get extra privileges for female gamers that they didn't earn.
What are you talking about?
It's the same strategy the media uses everywhere else.
A lot of the people in the community thinks that you're stealing a spot, or that money should go somewhere else, or that you're not good enough to be sponsored.
Yes, and why would the competitive male players accuse them of taking someone else's spot?
What?
This is why I don't like these stupid news clips. They remove all context and don't give the other side any fair interpretations or a chance to defend their standpoint.
Well, that's what you've been doing this entire video, so.
Could it be that just maybe there's a reason the male players would say this? Oddly enough, in the very news report that Vice is saying that female gamers got these positions based on their merit, they're actually arguing for affirmative action.
Because there's no existing support there, a lot of female gamers don't want to go pro. Genji has been making strong efforts towards building a program of female gamers. Develop them, find coaches, coach up these female talent, scout them out, and then really just make it worth their while to be the nail that sticks out.
Okay.
Why does it need to be a program of female gamers? Why can't it just be a program of the best players?
So the reason, their logic for why they might have a program that's specifically for women is because it is a space where there are no women in it. And it would be nice to have women in it. This isn't an issue that men really seem to have. If you think it's unfair, sure, but I think that the just drastic sexism is probably less fair. So, like, yeah, it's an affirmative action protocol. Is it ideal? No, but neither is relentlessly bullying women and then justifying it by making, like, a fucking 40-minute hit piece on women that are just like, hey, we get harassed for being women, and you having no understanding of anything. I don't understand. I mean, criticize the people being sexists instead of the people getting targeted by sexism. Be a real man. That's my response to it. Stop being a fucking baby. How else do you want me to fucking say it? I don't understand.
Sokol Pro super chatted $4.99. This guy needs to change his name. He doesn't think about anything, lol.
No, he doesn't. 'Cause I think he might need a little bit more sleep so he can think about stuff, but okay.
An honest question to women. Are you not insulted by this? Are you not
Probably
insulted by
no.
mainstream news corporations constantly talking down to you like you're a child? Because if I had a news corporation like Vice tell me that I couldn't succeed...
That's how you've been talking about the women in this whole thing. You're saying that they should just stand up for themselves better. And then when a woman does stand up for herself, you say that she's toxic and just fueling the fire. You're treating her like she's a fucking second-class citizen. If your argument is that maybe all these programs don't care about women, maybe they don't. But it could be an opportunity for some of these women to go pro in a field where like women aren't really valued at all, which you could see by some of the audience of some of these games.
Unless someone held my hand through the entire process like that guy just suggested, I would be very offended. These companies do not respect you and they are not on your side.
Why? Like, do you think it's just that environment? Like, imagine this. Like, the pro players are toxic too. Like, they're also people. Just because they're professional players doesn't mean that they act professionally, right? And so you got them, and they might be in a thing where they harass the fuck out of these women, or they treat them like less than, or they're disgruntled in some capacity. So it's like, yeah, let's make a women's only team, and let's help support some women being able to get there. Like, who cares? I don't care. Like, okay, they want to do that with their money, be my guest. I don't give a shit. And if you're upset by the inequality, then you should deal with the cause of the inequality, which is the guys in this instance. Not all men, but these toxic people. And instead of being being less than a man and defending all the fucking toxicity, be a fucking real man and like call that out. Focus your activism on calling that out. But I don't think that you could, because if you did, your audience would probably cry and go like, oh, I thought he was for us. I was about to go to my 4th grade chemistry class, and I said, Rebecca, I want to squeeze your boobie, and she said no, that I'm being rude, and reported me to the teacher, and that's how I know that women have all these benefits in society. Those are the guys that are watching your stuff. I mean, unfortunately. Like, come on, man. Grow up.
They're saying you're weak because they're saying that men can do it on their own, but you can't do it unless you get help.
That's not what they're saying.
I don't get why this doesn't make women furious. Speaking of the BBC,
Talk to a
here's
woman.
them talking down to women just like
Talk to a woman. Maybe you'll understand. Go say hi to a woman. I'm not even trying to be a fucking asshole. Like, I know that it sounds like I'm just calling them a virgin, but like, go talk to women. Like, it's a real thing. If you talk to women, they can give you their perspective on this, and you might be like, oh, I get it. Like, that's the biggest reason men don't understand women, and the biggest reason that women don't understand men is because they don't fucking talk to each other about specific issues, or they won't listen to each other about the particular issues that they have. And this happens both ways, right? Like, there's some young men that are like, hey, I'm feeling kind of shitty as a young man. I'm feeling like society's shitting on me a little bit. And then instead of being like, okay, well, what's your issue? Why do you have this problem? We shit on all these men. And you know, it's funny because like feminism, the good part of feminism says like everybody should be able to come forward and talk about your feelings in general, men and women, and then sometimes men will come forward and talk about their feelings, and then we shit on those men, right? So there are some toxic parts of feminism, or rather, there's some people who don't actually critically engage with what the positive aspects of feminism. Talk to each other and listen, and like actually value each other's perspective. Like, holy fuck, I'm coming and shitting. Like, it's not that complicated.
Like Vice did.
There's mixed views about how to encourage more women into esports. One idea that's been trialled by Formula 1 esports this year is to guarantee a female player a spot in high-profile tournaments.
So back to why men feel like someone who has more merit is having their...
Yeah, so I kind of disagree with that, right? So this is one of those things where they're trying to figure out how to put more women in the esports team to try to make things a little bit more fair, right? And what they're doing in this instance is they're focusing too much on the outcome rather than they're focusing too much on the end point rather than the starting point. And this is a problem across the board. So what they're doing here, and I know this is going to be crudely drawn, but effectively there's 2 points. There's the starting point and then there's the ending point, right? We should redraw that. There you get your starting point and you have your ending point. How much of the screen can you actually see? Okay. What they're doing is saying like, okay, there's a lot of growth that goes from start to finish here, right? What they're saying is like, let's forcefully inject somebody into this ending point. I don't know that I agree with that. However, what you could do is try to do some more stuff at the starting point, which is like create some kind of an organization that tries to empower women to be able to play more games and get game training. That makes sense to me. See if they're up to the task, since women don't really get that opportunity. That makes sense to me. Create a more comfortable space for women to actually play games so that they don't get called a bitch and a cunt the entire time. That's another thing that I can be in agreement with. Things that'll stew at the starting point and could potentially condition a female player to be good enough to get to the end point. That's where I would focus, right? They're doing it here. I think it's well-intentioned. I just think it's the incorrect way to go. I understand why they're doing it. This guy, of course, is going to have a fucking shit fit about it, and he's not going to actually try to understand where they're coming from, and he's just going to say, see, they're displacing men. Men are the real victims. That's what's going to happen next, right? So, like, you know, yeah.
Spot taken. This is all based on the BBC and Vice wanting you to think that these particular players are competitive with top esports players. They want you to think that the only reason they can't win is because everything is unfair in a male-dominated space.
They're just trying to figure it out, bro.
These companies are trying to make you think that female gamers are victims of circumstance, and the only way to give them their fair shot...
A lot of them are. Even if they... And you want to know what? It's possible that if we remove the circumstance, that women still wouldn't be on par with men when it comes to competitive games. Maybe, like, men tend to be a little more aggressive and competitive. That's what I've noticed. So it might not work. That's okay. But we should still get rid of this problem, right? Like, I don't understand. Yeah.
Is to provide them with all kinds of bonuses and opportunities that male players don't get. Gee, where have we heard that argument before? And all of this meritocracy that Vice and the BBC are trying to claim is in the framing. They are manipulating the data to make you think that these women are top players being held back by sexism, when the reality is that they simply aren't good.
Chastity, also known by her gaming handle Cupcake, is one of 5 members of Team Paradox, an all-female gaming team trying to go pro. Each member of Team Paradox ranks in the top 1% of players for the game Overwatch.
Okay. Can you see how great that sounds? All of these women are in the top 1% of players.
Okay.
That's amazing. Except if you actually play competitive games, you'll know that being in the top 1% is not that big of a deal. I play Apex Legends. Apex has over 100 million players, which means there are over 1 million people who are in the top 1%. 1 million people aren't making a living on Apex, and that's why Vice is manipulating the statistics to make it seem like these players are better than they are to the people who don't play competitive video games. The top 1% is nothing. The rankings in Apex go like this: Bronze, Silver, Gold, Platinum, Diamond, and the last 2 are Master and Predator. To even have a chance at being a top player, you need to be in the Master or Predator class, and that's only like 0.2% of the players. The top 1% is nothing. This affirmative action stuff never works. Taking unqualified players...
Well, what was their point of what they were saying? I don't even know. You kind of just stopped them when they said they were in the top 1%. What were they going to go on to say? I don't even know what are you complaining about? So far, you haven't really showed us what.
Players and putting them in the front of the line does not magically make them good players. Here's an example of that. Do you guys remember the League of Legends team that was all female? Team Siren?
I'm a siren.
Okay.
I'm a siren.
I'm a siren. I'm Sylvanas, and I play mid. I'll bait you and outsmart you.
That line was so cringe that it became a meme. I'll bait you and outsmart you.
Okay.
All the good players started making fun of them.
Thank you very much, Joe. Yes, Alex. Now walk me through that game because it was very close. SK was ahead actually in the beginning, and then at some point you just dropped all the AoE on them, and it was over.
We thought that losing is not an option, so we decided to bait them and outsmart them.
Do you?
But see, that's funny because he's criticizing them for being bad, not because they're women. That's why it's funny and it works. That was a cringe line. Yeah, for sure. But you notice how he didn't say, "Yeah, women are dumb." He didn't even mention it. But you could tell. I could tell. That's how I feel. No. But like, you notice how he didn't say that or anything? He was just making fun of them because they were cringe and they lost. That's funny. That's a funny thing to do. It's appropriate.
You know why this is so funny? Because when you look at the actual rank of these players, they were nowhere near professional level.
At the release of the video, here is where each player and the team was ranked in the solo queue ladder. Uni was Plat 4, Illy Sweetheart was Plat 4, Sylvanas was Diamond 4, Christina was Diamond 1 at 26 LP, and Jenny was also Diamond 1 at 23 LP. Team Siren as a ranked 5's team was only Gold 1, with 25 wins and 22 losses. They were nowhere near the professional caliber conveyed in the video.
Here are the solo queue rankings for League of Legends by percentage. If you don't play competitive games and you don't know what solo queue is, it's when you play by yourself. And
yeah, so they weren't as good. Sure. Okay. Yeah, I get it. And they probably shouldn't have been forced into that situation where they were going to clearly lose and then it being embarrassing, for sure. But like, what is this? People not operating perfectly when it comes to the way that they should handle women being excluded from games doesn't mean that like women should still be excluded from like games or that we shouldn't be sensitive to some issues women have, right?
And get teamed up with random people based on your skill level. 2 of the Sirens were Platinum, which means they were barely in the top 10% of players. None of them were in the top 3 ranks, which are Master, Grandmaster, and Challenger, and as a team, they were only Gold, which means they basically had no chance at winning a major tournament. As I said, giving people money, making a trailer, and having them say cheesy lines does not magically make them good players.
We live together, we play together. This is my family.
When a team like this gets memed into oblivion, there's a reason for that. The feminists like to blame all their failures on misogyny, like a bad player likes to blame...
Can you show somebody that said that the reason that they lost is because the misogyny, or are you just making up that line? Because I don't think anybody actually said that. They shouldn't have been pushed into that area, for sure. I agree with that, sure. But I'm not going to like turn it into an anti-woman moment. Like, I'm not I don't have to go crazy about it.
In the controller. The reason this particular part is hilarious is because it talks about them being a family when the team didn't even survive for a month. Why? A lot of that was due to poor communication and infighting.
Yeah, it was pretty much we didn't meet ends meet yet. Someone was leaving and it was too hard to replace her. Yeah, it was pretty much we didn't meet ends meet yet. Someone was leaving and it was too hard to replace her. And then all these girls having internal drama which shouldn't have happened in the first place.
Okay.
And yeah, that's pretty much about it. So.
Yeah, it seems like they didn't have very good team coaching either. That's going to happen with like any competitive team. There's going to be like ego issues all over the place, what they should and shouldn't do, blah, 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 blah. That's why you have to get like a decent coach, somebody to deal with it. Like Afromu, right? I know some league players. Huh?
So that's a clarification on why Sire disbanded, so yes.
This is why you hire based on merit and not based on a particular category someone was born into. This team wasn't skilled enough at communication in a team game to get along well enough to survive for even a few weeks after the trailer released. So I don't get it. Prove to me that this is being caused by harassment and not simply by a lack of interest in these types of games and lack of skill.
They you don't need to. Like it's because they suck. They suck and they didn't have good infrastructure. But this one instance of like operating poorly doesn't mean that women aren't like harassed on the internet just for being a woman, where men don't have that face that same problem. I don't understand. Like, okay.
I mean, if you listen to this girl here from the BBC report who said there was rampant sexism in the competitive gaming
there
space,
is.
She said that she would not want separate male and female divisions because there wouldn't be any competition. Allow me to play the part of her statement that I left out from the earlier clip.
Yeah, she's saying that because there probably wouldn't be enough women to exist in that sphere, but okay.
So you're saying that you wouldn't want there to be a division where women can't play against men?
Oh, that'd be horrible. I wouldn't play the game if that was the case, personally.
Tell me why. Can you explain that?
At the current scene right now, I think all of us individually would be like, it wouldn't be fun. Like, we wouldn't have any competition, or if we just only had to play against other women's teams, that just Like the point of me playing every day is to improve, and I just wouldn't be doing that.
By saying that she wouldn't get any better if there were only female players, she just blatantly admitted that the other female players aren't good, which destroys the BBC's narrative that women don't win because of sexism.
Was that their whole narrative? Or was their narrative that women are excluded from spaces because of online toxic harassment? I feel like you're conflating arguments here. Okay.
Good, and you'll win.
Because that's the case, let's talk about why their skill is not at a competitive level, outside of their simply being...
Could you imagine like a young boy on a baseball team, and let's say that he's short, right? And let's say that every time he isn't able to hit the ball, somebody says, "Wow, you're fucking terrible because you're just some dumb short kid," right? Do you think that that's going to have a profoundly negative impact on that young kid's self-esteem? Yes or no? Now let's say that there's a big guy. It's a big kid. He's pretty big. He's athletic, yada yada. But he misses the ball the same number of times. But because he's a big guy and people can obviously see, they feel they could see more potential in him. They're not as aggressive against him. They try to build him up and build his self-esteem. So when he fails, they're like, no, don't worry about it. It's a good job. You're doing okay. Do you think that kid's gonna have a better outcome? Outcomes have to do with like the different spheres and different ways that you're treated. Like, again, I don't know that women would be super competitive if we treated them correctly in gaming spheres. I don't know. We don't do that, so we don't know. But to say that like it's not a factor in the destruction of somebody's self-esteem fundamentally when they're constantly harassed just for like their existence, especially on a quality that they cannot change, I don't see how you. How old are you? I mean, that's my real question. It's not that complicated. So,
being fewer women. I'll use this time to talk.
Am I interested in going to the mall, babe? Yeah, you come home and I can go out with you. After this segment's over, we can finish.
About one of my favorite topics, which is how to get extremely good at a skill. The Vice News report talks about a Fortnite player named Madison. Let's hear her story.
Do with the wind.
I'm Madison Mann, nickname's Maddie, and I play for Genji Esports. I got signed in 2018.
Okay.
Probably roughly practice lately about 6 to 8 hours a day. And that's pretty much every single day.
6 to 8 hours a day is not enough. That might sound like a lot for other activities, but that's not how much the pros practice. Pro gamers practice like the entire day. That streamer, It's Timmy, who I showed earlier, is horrendously successful at streaming and playing Apex Legends. Here's how much he works.
Sorry.
Pretty much every single day.
6 to 8.
Roughly practice lately about 6 to 8 hours a day.
So she said practice lately 6 to 8 hours a day. Okay. Also, just so you know, so I want you guys to understand this. and like I used to watch a lot of esports, especially League of Legends. There is generally an understood difference between practicing and playing the game. Practicing for 8 hours a day and then afterwards playing the game solo are not considered the same thing if you understand gaming spheres. Because practicing, it's just usually a different dynamic. It's a competitive dynamic. This is something that's understood. Now, I don't understand the specifics, but I do understand enough to know that it's possible that she might be practicing 8 hours a day and then playing another 4 or 5 hours a day, especially if it's a game that she likes a lot, but in a different way. That's why you see a lot of competitive gaming, especially in League, they don't stream because they're practicing. It's a different thing. Just so you guys know.
And that's pretty much every single day.
6 to 8 hours a day is not enough. That might sound like a lot for other activities, but that's not how much the pros practice. Pro gamers practice like the entire day. That streamer, It's Timmy, who I showed earlier, is horrendously successful at streaming and playing Apex Legends. Here's how much he works.
Yeah, I mean, my entire life is literally online. I wake up, hit the live button, go to turn off the stream, go to bed.
I got so much respect.
Okay, so I just want you to know this is two different things. I don't know if It's Timmy is a pro player or if he's a pro streamer. These are two different things, right? They're both good at the game, but they're generally a little different in the way that they're good at the game, because when you're playing a team game especially and you're teaming up with somebody as a pug, it's going to be a different interaction than when you're competitive. Your cohesiveness as a unit is not going to be anywhere near the same with randoms than it is going to be with like a team player that's going to have a deep understanding of the meta and you're going to play everything around each other, whereas other solo players are just kind of fucking around having fun. Okay, there's a difference between playing and practicing. Him playing a lot is going to make him better, but it's not the same as what she classified as practicing. The fact that you don't understand that suggests to me that you don't really understand even fucking competitive gaming culture. It's weird. Like, it's bizarre that a 32-year-old fat fuck has more of an understanding about competitive gaming culture than this guy that's talking. I do find it a little bizarre.
Respect for you, bro.
Timmy is serious about that. I remember when I first saw his channel, I had way more subscribers than him, but his channel exploded in subs after he streamed Apex Legends for 55 hours straight, going from the lowest rank in Battle Royale to the highest rank.
That sounds horrible, bro. I would never. I'd fucking die.
That's what this field is like. Remember, esports is entertainment. It's not like being a nurse or a contractor where we need tons of people to do the job. In the entertainment business, we only need a small handful of people, so it's winner take all. If you are saying that you want to be the best, then you have to put in the kind of effort that the best people put in. Here's another famous entertainer, Mr. Beast, who has one of the most popular YouTube channels at 90 million subscribers. Listen to
I wonder. Somebody said that like the guy he's referencing says he doesn't like this guy. I wonder if this guy's like self-aware enough to understand that the people that he's like referencing don't really seem to like him. And that doesn't mean that people I reference like me or not, but he's like actively jerking them off that's what it feels like to me. These guys like probably think that you're kind of an asshole the way that you talk about stuff and super immature, man. Like have a little bit of like self like reflection, you know?
the kind of mentality that he has.
Laser-like focus. I just want to be the best YouTuber I can.
Why do you want to be the best YouTuber?
I don't fucking know, man. I just, ever since I was 13, I just made the decision I was going to be a YouTuber. I was going to die trying. Sounds different hearing me say it now, but I had that type of like devotion when I was younger. Like even when people would tell me it was crazy, no odds in my favor, with no equipment, no nothing, no social skills, no editing, no camera, no one to teach me, no one to help me. I was just like, I don't care. I'm going to figure it out or I'm going to die trying. I'm obsessed and I'm crazy. Like I will spend every dollar back into the channel forever. I don't care. I just want to be the biggest.
Okay,
yep.
Cool.
That's the kind of mentality you need to be at the top of something.
Okay.
Did he say he needed his handheld all the way to success because he was being oppressed? No.
When did that girl say that? You just literally didn't understand the difference between training and playing a game. I don't know if you're really I don't think that you're the best person to speak with any authority on anything of these issues. Like, I don't understand. I have so much of a deeper understanding, and I barely have it, of competitive games than you, and the way that training versus actually playing. It's bizarre, bro.
No. He got in there with nothing, made his own connections, and worked his ass off until he succeeded. Listen to how much work this guy did to get the knowledge that he has.
Basically what I did was I somehow found these other like 4 lunatics. We were all super small YouTubers, and we basically talked every day for 1,000 days in a row and did nothing but just like hyper study, like what makes a good video, what makes a good thumbnail, what's good pacing, like how to go viral. We would just
That's crazy. How do you have the time to do that? Because like, listen, I got lucky when I became viral. A lot of it had to do with my commentary and my jokes and other stuff on TikTok. Rest in peace, TikTok. My account, right? I just got lucky, man. I would have never had the time to do that. A lot of times there was instances where I was working, one of the reasons I wasn't working more than 40 hours was because of COVID. You know what I mean? I was lucky to keep my job. Well, I needed it because I managed like a cleaning crew for the buses, and a lot of those buses still stayed in transit. We had to obviously do that because people need to get around. And then like I had like a lot of time because there was a lot of work to do in like bursts. It was like different because of the way that everything had happened. It was so bizarre. But I could this guy had so much time to just devote to this. I mean, obviously good for him, but damn, like how the fuck do you get the time?
Get on Skype every morning, and like some days like I'd get on Skype at 7 a.m. and I'd be in the call until like 10 p.m. and then I'd go to bed, I'd wake up and I'd do it again. So we all had like 20,000 subscribers when we met, and by the time we stopped talking, we all had millions of subscribers.
You don't get successful at a very competitive field without that kind of mindset and without that kind of obsessive work ethic. There are tons of different creative and social skills that have to be learned to make a YouTube channel successful. You can't learn those things without putting lots of time in, and it's the same with competitive gaming. Even the girl from the BBC News thing says that Madison isn't practicing enough to be successful at this.
It can be like a 10 to 14 hour job daily, but it is a lot of hard work.
Absolutely. That sounds more...
Well, she's not saying that girl Madison specifically. Okay, I just want you to understand again. Listen, because I've watched interviews with like league players, and they're like, yeah, we'll practice for, I think it was like anywhere from like 8 to 10 hours a day, but then we'll play games afterwards. We'll play the same game afterwards for like fun. It's like a different thing. Okay, whatever.
More like it. Now, for those of you who don't want to be in an art field where everything is winner take all, you don't have to be as serious, but understand that the more skill you have, the more rewards you'll get for your competence. Everyone who wants to make a good living has to at some point put in those 12 to 14 hour days for a few years. I personally was held back for many years because I refused to do that, and almost instantaneously after I started putting that kind of effort in, things started working out. Mr. Beast actually reports the same thing in the Joe Rogan episode. He didn't succeed until he got serious. That being said, it should be no surprise that all they show Madison talking about in this documentary is her underperforming.
You do 12 to 14 hours a day making your videos. I kind of just don't believe it. I don't do a lot of heavily edited or curated videos, so I'm not going to lie about that. But it seems like you watched one video and then you looked up a few statistics to push, like you did commentary on it and then you edited it up. I'm sure it took some time. but 12 to 14-hour days. You seem to post every 2 weeks. I just don't think that you put that much effort in. I'm just saying. I just feel like you're being a little performative in the amount of work that you claim you do. Okay.
I have a lot of pressure because the last.
And it's fine. I don't do a whole lot. I do like 3 or 4 hour days. I'll usually work 6 or 7 days a week. I mean, it's better than what I used to do, but it was crazy. Work smart, not hard. Am I right? I'm just saying. I don't know why you would say that. I don't think that you're putting that much work into your field.
I didn't do as well in Australia.
You should be taking each loss as a hint that you're doing something wrong, and that should motivate you to change or improve your behavior until you win. I swear, I see tons of people not getting the results they want at a particular thing, and they just keep repeating the same actions that cause them to fail over and over again.
Okay.
Stop doing that. Anyway, the rest of this documentary follows Madison to a big Fortnite competition called DreamHack. Once they get to this part of the show, another reason why Madison isn't doing well becomes apparent. Her coach sucks.
Okay. They've been practicing for months, so once we're here, my strategy is more to just make sure they're comfortable. Go get them, an energy drink, some water, just really do everything outside of the game so they can focus on just the game.
No, that's not your job.
Why does that communicate that he sucks? I don't understand. Why does this communicate that he sucks?
And if you think it is, then you're an assistant, not a coach. I've never done esports before, but I have done individual sports, and a coach's job at a competition is to focus on all the things that you can't. When you're competing and in the moment, it's very easy to get tunnel vision in terms of your overall awareness. Coaches are there to be an extra pair of eyes.
So, because he didn't lay out every single thing that he does, and he talks about how he's trying to create an atmosphere to make them feel better, to focus on the game, you don't think that he does any other things that a coach would do? He's just talking about how they've trained for a long time, and it's game day, and he's trying to be a support structure for them so that they can focus all their stress on the game instead of stressing about smaller things, which can add up. Like, oh, I need a drink. Oh, I'm hungry. I need this. And he's like, I try to be available for them to deal with that. And you've taken that as I just feel like you're prescribing things onto this situation in like a disconnected way. Like, I'm sure that he does coach them still. I'm just okay. All right.
That can help you figure out what you're doing wrong. At the very least, what this guy should be doing is watching her games and going over all the things that she could be doing better in the next game.
I'm sure he is. Why would you think he's not? Just because he didn't explicitly say it? Yeah, I try to make sure that my players are comfortable while it's game day, because this is where we've been practicing for and it's a stressful day. No, that's not what you're supposed to do. You're actually supposed I'm sure he's talking to them about the wins and losses and in a way. Maybe he's not a great coach. I don't really know. But based on this, you cannot make that prescription magically out of fucking thin air.
It's much easier to be critical about a match when you aren't the person playing, which is why a coach can be super helpful. But that's not what this guy does after a game.
Okay.
Instead of giving helpful critical feedback, when his players vent that they have a problem, he just appeases them and tries to make them feel better.
What?
And he doesn't even do that.
When the fuck did he say that? What?
And then your other thing,
she drinks.
Why Madison isn't doing well becomes apparent. Her coach sucks.
They've been practicing for months, so once we're here, my strategy is more to just make sure they're comfortable. Go get them, an energy drink, some water, just really do everything outside of the game so they can focus on just the game.
No, that.
Okay, I mean, do you think that he's not watching their games? Okay, I don't know. Maybe I'm just living the real world.
To be an extra pair of eyes that going over all the things that she could be doing better in the next game. It's much easier to be critical about a match when you aren't the person playing, which is why a coach can be super helpful. But that's not what...
So, I don't know that the dynamics are, specifically. I don't know... So, here's what I know. I know that when it comes to league competitive, your coach is not allowed to talk to you at all during the game, right? So, there's probably... He might be watching, but you can't do anything until after the game's over. I'm sure they're having a conversation and a reflection after the game's over. I wouldn't doubt that. I just feel like he's just trying to make them feel comfortable for the most part. That's the primary focus, which makes a lot of sense. Okay, whatever.
This guy does after a game. Instead of giving helpful critical feedback,
you don't know if he is.
That they have a problem, he just appeases them and tries to make them feel better.
Okay.
And he doesn't even do that well at that.
Okay, sure.
It's all Gucci. Still got tomorrow too. Nothing to stress over. It is indeed annoying, but it's Fortnite. Fortnite is annoying.
Okay.
That actually was a little funny, and I agree. But is that really a professional thing to be saying? Hey, this game you spend all day playing, it really sucks. Are you trying to demotivate your player when she's in the
not really what he said. He said it's annoying. Like you.
Middle of a competition? You should be getting her pumped up for the next day. This guy does this crap multiple times.
Why would... I guess. I mean, listen, here's the thing. Everybody manages stress differently. So if you're a coach and you have a player, and when they lose, they get down on themselves, they get frustrated. that person might vent stress by just not wanting to be interacted with in like any like intense way. That's how I get when I get frustrated. Don't hype me up. Just chill the fuck out. He's given a little coaching. Maybe that's what she needs. He would know her more. And there's other people who might need a super hype up. But for the most part, it's more about like just taking the L right now, taking a deep breath, and then dealing with the bullshit the next day. Because why would you hype yourself up 24 hours before you actually have to compete again? You know, your body just had a bunch of adrenaline running through it. You can take some time to take a step back and move forward. I don't know her, and I'm not her coach. Maybe he does suck as a coach, but like that you're supposed to deal with, you know, you have to deal with your player, not with like, and everybody's different, not with what you think your player wants to, like what you think the player is about. Like you don't know them. Like you don't know the player. You don't know what she needs. I don't know shit.
During the documentary.
I mean, I know you don't want to hear it, but you would have qualified yesterday. I mean, you would have. It's not fair.
Bro,
okay.
You're not helping. The whole point of having a coach is to have a critic who will tear you apart and make you better at the skill.
So I don't know what he was saying, but she might have lost, and he was like, you would have qualified if you didn't lose. That's like, sometimes people need to hear the hard truth. I don't understand why is that like why are you being critical of that? I don't know the context. It's you're only showing us like a quarter of a second of everything, but okay.
If you want to get really good at something really quickly, then you need to find a mentor who has the ability to push you in the right direction.
Bro, it's a mentor's a fucking cheat code. If you're in an industry where you can get one, get one. Just like that guy I took from 20 grand to 400 grand a month. Like that would take him like a decade on his own. And I was just like, here you go, just do this. People, like a lot of people enjoy, if they're really passionate about what they do, they enjoy
I think Mr. Beast gave somebody a ringing endorsement, probably because the content was solid. And then like he was able to blow him up. Like, yeah, mentor is good, but also like that guy probably had the talent, and anybody, if Mr. Beast gave anybody that was decent, you'd blow up. Like if Mr. Beast gave me an endorsement, I would also blow up. If he gave this guy an endorsement, he'd blow up too, because he's really good at making content that people that don't want to actually engage critically and love, especially people with victim complexes that thinks that, you know, the world should fucking bow to them. So like it would be like, yeah, for sure. But it's not just about a mentor. You also have to have some raw skill. I'm about to get now. Holy fuck.
Talking about they'll mentor you for free just because it's what they love.
You can learn so much from people that have already accomplished things. You can.
True.
If you can't find a mentor, then find a group of friends who
Joe
are
Rogan wasn't talking about mentor. He's just talking about a person that knows things. But okay, sure, I get your point.
very motivated and have everyone rip each other's work to shreds. Then teach each other what you've learned in your own private study until all of you are good. This works for every skill. Here's Mr. Beast talking about some of that.
There's no such thing as a perfect video. Like someone should always call you and shit on your video because it could be better. Like that's because imagine if someone does that every video and you upload hundreds, if not 1,000 videos over the next 10 years, and every single time someone's critiquing you and you're applying what they're critiquing.
Wait. Okay, so the issue that this guy had in the video was that the coach gave her a criticism after she had lost a game, and now he's showing us a clip of Mr. Beast talking about how getting good criticism is really good for you. How do these two things? How did you say these things without feeling a little silly about yourself? Like Mr. Beast is what I'm seeing supporting what the coach did. Like, how are you? I don't know. I think that you just want everything to be as wrong as possible. But okay.
Imagine the compound effect over that time span. It's invaluable. But if you upload 100 videos and very few people are shitting on them, then like you just lost so much compound effect.
This is probably the one thing people are missing most in their skill development. People are afraid to hear negative feedback, so they will just ignore all commentary on what kind of job they're doing. A lot of times, even at the highest levels. Even when the person specifically asks for feedback, they will still ignore negative comments. I can't tell you how many YouTubers with decent-sized followings I've talked to who said, "My videos aren't getting views. I need help." Who then proceeded to blow me off or get angry when I told them what I thought was wrong with their channel because they don't want to hear negative feedback. A lot of people...
I wouldn't take your advice either, man. Like, you don't really have a good handle on the content that you make yourself, so I don't know that I would be like, yeah, this is the guy I would point to for content. So far, all of your advice has just been pretty general, vague, obvious prescriptions on what the way things should work, and I'm not exactly inspired. Oh, shit, I'm dying. Don't do that, guys.
People don't actually want help. They just want reassurance. Now, to be fair, there are also a lot of people who I brutally criticize who listen, say thank you, and come back for more. Who do you think gets better? I honestly don't get why most people are so afraid of this. As for me, I am constantly looking for qualified people to crap on my content and help me improve my creator skills. You need to find people who are willing to be direct with you. You need like a Simon Cowell in your life who won't BS you and tell you that you're good just to make you feel better. If you don't have an honest assessment of your skill, you will not improve.
Problem with my criticisms on this guy is that like he wouldn't be able to pander to his audience anymore if he actually listened to them. What the fuck is this, Phoenix? So they wouldn't be criticism you could really take, because then you have to, you have to keep not critically engaging with stuff if you want to maintain your success.
Improve. This is also one of the benefits of the trash talk and the directness of masculine environments, and it's another big reason why I'm not happy that mainstream media outlets like Vice and the BBC are constantly trying to create propaganda in an attempt to destroy free speech in male spaces. Not being able to be direct and offensive harms our ability to self-improve, which leads to crap like this.
I'm pretty devastated. There was a power outage and I was 8 points away from qualifying top 200, but they didn't give us an extra 30 minutes so I could play my last game. So I guess I'm just ready for tomorrow because I know what to expect and I know I'll qualify if nothing else goes wrong.
Stop making excuses. You want to...
What do you mean stop making excuses? This is what they were talking about? There was a power outage, and she would have qualified today if she kept going. So she's upset, and you're telling her to stop making excuses? What was she supposed to do? Turn the fucking lights on? Become the fucking electric company? What do you mean? What excuse? What?
Extra outage and I was 8.
Which leads to crap like this.
I'm pretty devastated. There was a power outage and I was 8 points away from qualifying top 200, but they didn't give us an extra 30 minutes so I could play my last game. So I guess I'm just ready for tomorrow because I know what to expect and I know I'll qualify if nothing else goes wrong.
Stop making excuses. You want to be a professional, right? If you were actually qualified to win, then it doesn't matter if the power went out. You should be good enough to win the makeup game too. Otherwise...
What? What excuses is she? She's saying she's frustrated because she was probably in the zone playing really well in the moment and she would have qualified, but then the power went out and that's very frustrating. Could you imagine if you are doing work, let's say this guy's editing his videos and the power goes out and all of a sudden he has to like start from a point where he loses like an hour of work. Would he be like, oh man, I'm really frustrated? And then would it be, and if he said that, would I be able, well, just making excuses if you want to be successful? She's just venting, bro. Like, what was she supposed to do? Shoot fucking, like, what was she supposed to do? Bro, how are you a person? Like, you can't seriously believe what you're saying at this point. You're shitting on somebody for getting frustrated because in a competitive environment where she was playing really well, she got the steam fucking knocked out of her. Okay.
You are saying that you're just relying on having a lucky game, and luck doesn't make champions.
No, she's saying that she was in the zone. Like, listen, a lot of these things... Okay, listen, here's what I know. Like I said before, I used to, like, lift, and I used to be pretty, like, serious. So when I was going for, like, a PR max, like, let's say I was going for... then you have your weeks where you're not going for PRs or, like, routine PRs, and you have weeks where you are. So... I remember, like, when you're going for, like, a big hit, like, let's say you're pulling, like, you're going for, like, 500 for, like, 5 on, like, a dead, right? There's a lot of conditions that feel like they need to be met. You have to be feeling good, hydrated, not hungry, but also not, like, fucking stuffed to the fucking brim, or else you're going to have some issues there. Well rested. You just have to feel good. And if you go into the gym and let's say, like, something happened where like you just can't deadlift for that day, it knocks the wind out of you. You're like, fuck. And then you go in and it like psychs you out a little bit. These things aren't perfect, especially when you're in split second scenarios, which are like huge, right? Where she might have been feeling real good that day. She was feeling good. She did like a bunch of different things that would like make her perform better, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And now she's frustrated because she had the wind taken out of her sails. Why are we shitting on her for this? Like, you're acting like she's a fucking, like, what if I do wonder, like, what accomplishment has this guy ever had where because he doesn't seem to understand what it's like to accomplish things in his life. I'm not trying to be fucking rude, but I don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't understand it. Okay, cool.
Skill does. If you deserve to win, then you should be able to win regardless of technical difficulties. Has anyone ever sat her down and told her this?
I mean, I know you don't want to hear it, but you would have qualified yesterday. I mean, you would have. It's not fair.
That's almost like a disappointing motivator. It's like, you were doing really well. You would have qualified, so keep your head up. She got a raw deal. Why are you shitting on her for like getting a raw deal? Maddie's teammate, I don't know how to say her name, Moqii, Moki, I don't know, advanced the furthest out of the Gen Z, placing top 50. Okay, good for her.
Maddie? Yeah. No, Maddie got bumped out.
Damn, that's rough.
There's the bad player. Blame.
I would be disappointed too, man. Like, she was in her vibe, and then she got the wind knocked out of her sails, and she psyched herself out or something. That's unfortunate, but that's life, man.
The controller for their failure.
If there only wasn't a power outage, do you want to win or not? Because a winner would say, okay, I lost the makeup match when I would have won the previous match. What can I do to make it so I win consistently? Considering her attitude, I can guarantee you that Madison is not going to be successful. Her mind.
Oh, you're such a loser, dude. Like, I feel like this is the guy. This guy doesn't understand anything. Like, this is the guy who's gonna tell his kid that when his kid loses at something, that like, oh, you're like, calls him a fucking loser. Like, when you like, people need the ability to get frustrated and vent about losing. This isn't like a hot take. Like, especially competitive people. I've lost things before. You get angry. I get angry. I'll fucking get angry. Everybody has their own process, and you kind of have to just go through it. It's almost like a mourning process. Not that deep, but like kind of a little bit, right? Where you're frustrated and you have to deal with that stress, and then you just move forward from it. Like, that's the normal human being fucking way to engage with things. This guy is... I feel like this guy's never done anything competitive in his life. Not in a real way. Not like an organized competitive game.
Mindset is not how successul people think. Unless she changes, she will continue to fail at high-level competition. Interestingly enough, there was a person on Maddie's team who did qualify. A 13-year-old girl from Sweden who goes by Moki. God, these people are young. Apparently, a 15-year-old won the tournament. Also, apparently the average retirement age in esports is 25. These people have really short careers.
Yes.
Now, to finish this off, there was one more thing I wanted to say about skill building, and I think competitive video games do a really good job.
You want to tell us why? You know, I don't know. Part of it's like carpal tunnel, and it kind of fucks you up a little bit. You can't really like maintain for a long time. It's part of it. Obviously, you get older, your reaction time starts to go down. You can't necessarily perform as well as you used to. So like that.
Of teaching this lesson.
I'm not super familiar with any of the games that these girls are playing.
Also, there's a lot of so there's a fairly consistent, but there's a lot of different games that'll like pop into the competitive scene, and if your game dies off, you're not going to necessarily be able to compete anymore. There's younger people who are growing up through the meta, so they have like a better understanding of the meta. They're not clogged in with like previous metas as well that make it a little difficult for them to kind of adjust. You know, like let's say you're playing League and like, you know, there's like 3 seasons of a tank meta and you grew up through that, and like now you're older and like you have like maybe you have a little bit of tank brain in you, whereas somebody that grows up in like a non-tank meta, maybe like a bruiser meta, it's a lot of different like nuanced and complicated like reasons why people would fall off at like an earlier age.
So I'm going to use Apex Legends to talk about this because that's the game I play. For those of you who don't know, Apex Legends is a first-person shooter battle royale game where 20 teams of 3 fight it out until one team is left alive. Ranking goes from bronze to predator. There are 3 ways to get points in a ranked match. You can get kills, you can assist a kill, or you can simply survive. After a certain number of teams lose, you'll get points for survival, and you'll even get a multiplier that boosts the point value of your kills and assists if you outlive enough teams. This system allows for 2 different strategies to rank up. You can do the quick and risky way, or the slow and less risky way. The slow way is to drop really far away from other teams and just run the clock out until enough people have lost for you to get points. The quick way is to drop around a lot of other players and get as many kills as possible. By the way, after you rank out of bronze, you'll lose points if you don't perform well enough in the match. So you don't want to get
Jordy would probably just try to camp and wait everybody out. So
too reckless, or you'll lose all the points you got in previous matches. But the strategy you choose to rank up will affect your skill level. Tons of people seem to be afraid and want to do the slow way. The result of that in ranked is that you'll get people who are ranked in diamond that fight like they're in bronze. Again, the ranking system in Apex goes bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, master.
Sounds like a shitty ranking system. You just hide to survive. Sounds like some coward shit, bro.
And predator.
So basically, you have a player who should be pretty good, but plays like a beginner. Of course they do. They've been avoiding combat. The players who get really good and actually deserve their ranks are the ones who jump into the fire, engage as many teams as possible, and keep enhancing their skill until they win consistently.
I mean, I doubt that that's true. I don't play, but I'm sure that it's a mixture between like camping and then also being aggressive enough and being able to hold your own. I'm sure it's not just always going fucking crazy going into the fight like without any like level of intelligence, but I wouldn't expect like a nuanced take from this creator.
Of course, you do need to be a little reserved, but you shouldn't be afraid to fight. The way you build the skill to fight competently, outside of what I've said so far, is primarily to watch other players who are really good, figure out what they're doing right, and practice what you learn. That's actually how I learned a lot about YouTube. I spent tons of time observing good and bad creators to figure out what worked and what didn't. Eventually, when you do the quick method, you'll get stuck at some particular point and not be able to rank up. Whatever rank you hit, that's the rank you are, and you will not be able to continue further unless you improve. You can relate this to a salary at a job. If you are stuck at 50K a year when the top earners in your field are getting 200K a year, then 50K is your value until you improve. I like to use YouTube as an example because this happens all the time here, and it happens in public where everyone can see it. You'll see creators shoot up in subscribers and views, but after a while, they just kind of max out. Whatever number they stop the explosive growth at is their value. Now, I'll be a little self-critical here because we're talking about the ability to handle feedback. After my first year on YouTube, my channel blew up. At the end of my first year, on November 14th, 2019, I hit over 9,000 subscribers. By November 14th, 2020, I got over 175,000 subscribers. That's massive. My channel grew almost 20 times in that 1 year. But by year 3, that growth went down to about 2.5 times, and recently my growth has slowed way down. Last month was a good month, and I only got about 19,000 subscribers, so I can safely say my current value as a creator has plateaued at 500K subs. This is where I'll be stuck if I don't improve to get to the next level. Now I can do what most people do, which is accept that's my value and make a slow climb to 1 million subscribers over a period of 2 or 3 years. Or I can do the smart thing and just get better at my skill so I get that explosive growth again, and I can hit 1 million by the end of the year. We'll see how this video ages. Now, doing the quick way does mean that I'm going to have to hit the books again and work insane hours like I did when I started. I'm willing to accept that, but you personally have to decide what level of burden you want. Maybe you're fine with 50K a year at your job and are willing to slow climb to a slightly higher salary over 10 years. Maybe you're not fine with it and are willing to put in the insane hours to build your income to double or triple what it is now in just a few years and become...
I just don't think you understand how regular jobs work, because like this is just very disconnected. It's a little bit more complicated than this. Magically just being like, I'll get to, like, you can work hard, it'll help for sure, but like there's a lot of people who work hard at the money that they make, and it still takes them a while to climb because it's not as simple. Okay, sure. I don't
one of the top earners in your field. Either choice is fine if that's what works for you. All I'm here to do is inform you of what your options are and let you know how to achieve the higher echelons if that's what you want. Anyway, thanks for watching. Follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you in the next video.
Okay. Well, that video was terrible. So, listen, I don't think that I've ever watched a video from this guy that had made any real good points. Not really trying to be rude, but it's just like, oh my God. It's like, bro, I fucking Jesus Christ. I don't know what else to tell you. Something else. All right. Great video.
I want Papa God to pee on my face, but just as a friend. There's nothing weird about that. I want him to pee on my face.